Not yet. I haven't heard that from anybody that they weren't coming, so hopefully they're just running a minute too late. Dominic, do you have that script to read? You're muted. Somebody's signing in now. Okay. Dominic, you're still muted.
Thank you. Okay, I'll start with the script for remote participation. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. This open meeting of the town of Auburn is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, during the current state of emergency, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will allow for public comment under agenda items. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, we can dial in. The governor's order, along with all supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body, are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. As a preliminary matter, this is Dominique Cairns, Chair of the committee. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Let's see, it looks like we are missing Mark and Steve?
Steve, yeah.
Okay. Furthermore, when I do call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Is Scott Wren present?
Yes.
Is Nathan Rand present?
Yes.
Is Adam Menard present?
I'm here.
And let's see, it looks like we have Mr. Smith joining us today.
Yes, I'm here from the Water District.
Excellent, thank you. Town officials and employees participating have been before noted. We do have a few public hearings if applicable, and there's a call-in number for those who want to speak during those public hearings. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Is that still the case? Accordingly, those members of the Board of Selectmen, employees and members of the public who participate, please be aware that other people may be able to see you, and please take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Also, please note that each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. During meeting and during hearings, each speaker should state their name before each presentation, comment, or question. That's it. All right, I'll call this meeting to order.
Okay. If you want, I can get going with Mr. Smith. Ken Smith's here from the Auburn Water District, who is good enough to join us tonight. He's actually the former superintendent. The district, I believe, hired somebody new, so Ken's, I believe, helping a bit with the transition. As you recall, the committee was looking to ask the water district to come to a meeting to kind of talk about some of the water bodies that they control. Obviously, it's open space, it's conservation land, and it's important to capture that in this plan, at the very least, as open space. So, talked to Ken earlier today. He's happy to answer any questions or to give any background on anything you'd like to talk about.
Excellent. Does anyone want to start by asking Ken questions? Beyond welcoming him here, thank you for being here.
No problem. Okay, I'm sorry.
I was going to ask if you could give a rundown of some of the water bodies that the water district oversees and controls.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief, but and not bore you. My name is Ken Smith. I'm the retiring water superintendent of the Auburn Water District. I saw, oh, Greg's back on. My replacement is Greg Woods. He just joined us here. Can you hear us, Greg?
Yes, I can. I'm here.
Okay. So, thank you for welcoming the district to this meeting. The Auburn Water District is a public water supplier that serves probably 70–80% of the town of Auburn. As far as water supplies, we have 12 wells located throughout the town. A majority of them along the aquifer corridor of Route 12. We do have some out on West Street, some off of South Street. There's 12 in all. They're shallow wells. They're developed in a gravel type geologic formation. So they are basically not exactly surface water, but they're groundwater. And they have various cones of influence and watersheds. In 2004, Mass Electric approached us. Now, Mass Electric had a coal-fired power plant in Webster Square. Went offline in the late 60s. During the post-war era, World War II, they developed 2 reservoirs, and we use the term reservoir as strictly an impoundment of water. And they constructed dams across the brooks, which went on to form Dock Brook, or some people call it Electric Pond for the obvious reason. And they created Upper Stoneville Reservoir. Lower Stoneville, which is at the base of St. Joe's Hill, that was formed before by a need for water power to the mills in those lower areas. So that was already an impoundment. Mass Electric owned and operated all 3 of them. When the coal plant no longer needed the water, and the water they used it was to cool the turbines, mix the cold water with the warm water. It actually went as far as going to Webster Square, where Big Boy Restaurant or Moe's Restaurant, that pond in the back was part of their system also. In about 2004, Mass Electric wanted to, or New England Power, a number of different names, wanted to divest themselves of taxable property. So they had no use for Electric Pond or Upper Stoneville or Lower Stoneville as a water resource. So they made
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello? This is Mark.
Hi, Mark.
So they approached the town of Auburn and asked the town if they were interested in taking over the water bodies. And at that time, for whatever reason, the town of Auburn declined that offer. The next in line, Mass Electric, approached the Auburn Water District as a watershed measure, offered to take over the ponds and the dams and some property that surrounded, offered it to the water district. The water district accepted that. The dams located on Leicester Street and off of Rochdale Street were upgraded. and we took them over. The impoundments, there are people that live around them. They were there. There's been very little new growth as far as encroachment on the property around it. Some people own to the water line. They are waterfront properties. Others are water view or whatever you want to call it. We have some wells that are near this off of West Street, but they're not directly on Dock Brook, which the Turnpike cuts across when it was constructed in 1957. We allow the residents to use these water bodies. They live there. There is no public access currently to any of them. There used to be a very haphazard boat ramp located on West Street by the new school. That was not an official boat ramp. It existed. It became very dangerous when they constructed the school in the driveway right there, and the fire training tower area became developed. So for safety purposes, the commission has voted to close that boat ramp. So like I said, there is no current public access to any of these water bodies. If someone's using it, they're either someone who lives there or have allowed somebody to live there. We allow the residents to use the water bodies. We have a set of rules and regulations for them, which includes dock sizes, the use of motorized boats. The commissioners in developing these rules and regulations tried not to be saying, okay, it's got to be 50 horsepower, where it is a closed audience, so to speak. We left it up to the residents to be self-policing. If there was a complaint and the residents couldn't take care of their own, then the commissioners would step in. In the winter, we encourage or allow people to go out ice fishing. Regulations officially do not allow the use of motorized equipment on the ice. People use Lower Stoneville along Rochdale Street. You see people fishing there. You'll see people fishing up on Leicester Street on the dam. And so that we permit that for, passive recreation. That we're not going anywhere, so the water, the impoundments are our protection for a watershed at this point. So, and I don't know if in a brief summary, I forgot my total of area. I guess you guys probably know them just as well as I do, the sizes and everything else. So I apologize for that. Does anybody have any questions?
This is Mark Bernal. Do you think you'll be able to open up Rotary Beach for swimming? Do you know if that water is safe now?
That was never our issue. I think that was a town issue with Rotary Beach and everything else. And since Rotary Beach, you had the advent of everybody having their own swimming pool. The use of the water bodies by the public, let's limit it that way, there's a potential liability issue there, which would have to be addressed officially between the town and the water district as to permit the public versus people who live on or direct abutters to use the water. I know I participated in some groups years and years ago about revitalizing Rotary Beach. It kind of didn't go anywhere. I've been led to believe that Rotary Beach was closed due to water quality. It is in a cove, so you don't have the greatest water quality. But I think back when they actually closed it, and I've been working in Auburn since 1975, I think it was an issue of unsewered residences. A lot of the residences have been sewered We have no knowledge of the water quality for bathing at this purpose, at this time.
Okay. So you wouldn't know anything about Camp Gleason either, right?
Camp Gleason is, yeah, no, that's a town-owned property up there. I think the town, I can't speak for the town. I think they have some, some use of that property, which stood vacant for many years, as some kind of, offices or some other use, so.
I was thinking more of the water.
Yeah, like I said, as breathing quality, I can't answer that. And then again, just to allow the public to utilize, district property, as you can all agree that there is some potential liability there
Okay. What
that
about the,
needs to be addressed.
I have
yeah,
a question, Ken. I'm sorry, Mark, did you have another follow-up
yeah,
question?
I was wondering about the Mass Pike. They still putting a lot of salt on that? Regular salt?
As long as people want to do 70 miles an hour in a snowstorm, yes. We meet, have had for many years conversations in dialect with Mass DOT people regarding the amount of salt that's used, but the motoring public safety is paramount. Yes, we have some of the highest chlorides in the state. Currently, our water is being studied by UMass Amherst. There's a crew that comes out monthly and samples extensively. This has been going on for many, many years, the salt use, and it does impact our water supply.
All set.
Thank you, Ken. I have a follow-up question on the chlorides and how that affects the water quality. Do you think that's the biggest issue plaguing the water quality in Auburn right now, as far as potable drinking water is concerned?
It is, it has been since they put the Turnpike in 1957, with the wells being proximal to the highway. The wells that are across the street from my office, people always ask me, why did you put the wells next to the Turnpike? The truth is, why did the Turnpike go next to our wells?
Right.
When they built the Turnpike could not be built today with the current environmental regulations. In 1957, there was hardly any zoning, and the Turnpike Authority was a very powerful entity at that point. It was the start of the interstate system. So it was, I wasn't involved back then, obviously, but yes, salt use is very important to the district. We do have another, in addition to the chlorides, and there is the number of accidents that are on the Turnpike. Greg, in his first week here, working for the water district, addressed an accident on the Turnpike. They're fairly frequent. So far, we've dodged the bullet on any contamination due to, fuel spills or anything like that. It's a very heavily traveled road, and probably on the average, we'll have a release. Sometimes I had 4 in 1 month. But it's once a month, once every 2 months. And we work very hard to work with the town of Auburn Fire Department, Mass DEP, the Mass DOT maintenance crew to help to protect our water supplies.
Is there anything that can be done to help further protect as far as that?
One of the parts of studying this, the town in conjunction, and Adam, if I screw up something here, just let me know. We went in on a joint effort for a municipal vulnerability grant. Part of the town's thing was to study the bridge on Sword Street. The other component of the grant was for a consultant to look at all the drainage that comes off the state highway and to prioritize which ones pose the greatest threat
Mhm.
to our water supply. And I don't know if that report has been finalized, Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
and,
good.
and so they come up with a list of outfalls from the Turnpike that pose the greatest threat to water, not just the environment, but our water supply. It's hoped that maybe someday that funding on the state level can come forward to put water treatment devices on these outfalls to help, protect the water. So That was a big program we worked on. You know, the water district responds along with the fire department. Um, as long as there's traffic, there's not much you can really do about it.
Okay, thank you. I have one other question for you, Ken, that's unrelated to the water quality, but also about Rotary Beach. I had read some time ago a Telegram and Gazette article going over the history that you cited with Mass Electric having purchased some of the um, water supplies. When did Auburn take it back? When did the Auburn Water District take it back from Mass Electric? I didn't catch the date.
The district never, we acquired, I believe in 2004, I don't, the exact date, Mass Electric conveyed, not all their property, a majority of their property from themselves to the Auburn Water District, which included the Dock Brook, Electric Pond, Upper and Lower Stoneville, and along with the water body was the ownership and maintenance of the dams. So I don't believe, you know, they bought it back in the 40s. They acquired just farmland, especially, I even have some photos up on Leicester Street. It was basically a small swamp with a brook running through the middle of it. They built the big dam there and created an impoundment. Just one point, years ago, I have read in some reports that the water district did, you know, look at those as a potential water supply, but as they were constructed, just for cooling water, they're not that deep. The water gets very warm. There are trees and stumps underneath it there, so they're not conducive physically to use as water supply. Surface water use requires some advanced treatment. It's not cheap water. And if you started drawing water out of those, the recharge for those, the watershed for the ponds are relatively limited. Dock Brook the watershed is very, very close to the water body itself. There is an off-site recharge. Upper Stoneville does have the brook that passes under, we call it the Tin Bridge on Rochdale Leicester Street. That brook does come from up in Leicester. There is some recharge there. But if we started taking water out for water supply, the water levels would probably most likely be impacted.
And they did perform a study, I think that when we purchased it back concerning the swimmability of Rotary Beach, at least, right? For the residents.
I don't have any insight or information on Rotary Beach. I think the town still owns the property, you know, the upland portion of it. But the water, I don't you know, the deed is multiple pages long. Off the top of my head, I can't definitively comment to say if that was specifically mentioned in the deed or excluded or any way. I can take a look at it and see if there is any language in it. But at the time of the transfer, Rotary Beach was definitely closed. You know, I understand the importance of it as a social, you know, asset to the town. But like you said, water quality, the previous speaker asked about water quality. I'm not sure if it was just poor water quality due to just natural impoundments. It's in a cove. The water doesn't move very much. You add bathers to it, it decreases. Actually, Rotary Beach, they were never hooked up to septic, to sanitary sewer. They had their own septic system. Whether that was a contributing factor or not, I could not say. Sewers were not, I don't think, installed in that area at the time that it closed.
Any other questions?
Yes. When are you gonna start the project on Sulphur Street connecting Auburn to Worcester Water?
that is under permitting. We finalized the environmental impact report on that just recently. There is a huge amount of permitting because the water from Worcester is in a different watershed basin than ours. So there's extensive interbasin transfer, and then there's an issue of funding. It's very important project, but it's a relatively expensive project too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would like to be able to start it or have it done already, but with limited funding. You have to get the permitting first, and then secure funding before you build it.
It's must be very expensive.
Probably engineer's estimate, $2.5 million.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Any other comments or questions?
I've got a quick question for Ken, if no one else in the committee has any questions. There has been, we've done several surveys. I think you're probably aware, Ken, one was for the master plan, one was for the open space plan. A lot of talk about trails. I discovered through my, almost daily look at the maps of Auburn, the water district owns part of an old railroad line right away near Tinker Hill, runs from behind the wells on West Street in the middle school to Albert Street. And then I think it's the electric company maybe owns from the Albert Street to the Oxford line. You don't know, this is something to discuss later offline, if the district would be interested in investigating that as a possible rail trail. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I don't know if there's any particular reason that the district, just maybe a little bit of background on that particular strip of property.
I'm familiar with the rail trails. The area that you spoke of there are actually two rail lines that cross Tinker Hill and Albert Street. One was what we refer to the B&M Railroad line, and then there was the Worcester Street Car Railway system, and they crossed at a bridge right behind the new middle school. It's never been thought of. We did a couple of years ago approached by the superintendent from the Auburn School Department. Ms. Burnell asked, could they run cross country back there, and yeah, we allowed them to run cross country. I don't know where that went. I don't think it's been used for a while. Some of these areas are proximal to the water bodies, so they would fall under conservation guidelines for use in there. It has not been addressed specifically by the board in my tenure there. As for Adam, you're talking as a walking trail or what?
Yeah, my thought was a walking trail. You have those 300 plus units that Eastland's developing down that way. My thought would be to loop some kind of walking trail from the middle school, not going past the middle school to like the Oxford line, and the Oxford, where it dumps out the Oxford line is right near the crosswalk like it can be. So it's just my thinking of maybe some kind of walking trail that will connect that area.
Yeah, in the past, it's died down, but say the area between Tinker Hill Road and say even where you come out to West Street, for a lot of years that was a favorite spot of dirt bike riders, and they made a mess of the area, and that gap in between there tore up a lot of the grade from the former railroad track, and people then started dumping trash back there. Subsequently, that access was blocked with some dirt piles, and somebody still sneaks in loads of construction debris, tires, There was a resident from Oxford who volunteered several years ago. He's very environmentally concerned. He went in and dragged out tires and collected many bags of trash. We picked up the tires, and it was a great effort on his part to do that personally. So, but to answer your question, it's never been officially considered or requested at this point. I'm
Maybe
sure if
something
the,
in the future.
yeah, it can be, Greg, probably an agenda item for future meetings. And Adam, if you had any kind of even idea, so some kind of visual, what you're exactly talking about, even a
Yeah.
back of an envelope type of thing, that would help to, convey what your interest is to the commissioners.
Yeah, we can do something like that. Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from members? All right, well, thank you so much for coming, Ken, Mr. Smith, and for all the information.
No problem. Like I said, Greg's coming on board. I'm gonna be there in some manner for a while for the transition. We have a lot of projects going on, a lot of issues going on, so I'm still available, even as I move towards my retirement. I've been working in Auburn, like I said, since 1975. I have a lot of roots in the community, and anytime I could be of service to the committee, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out.
And
It's
I,
like,
I've already been here 3 weeks now, but I do plan to swing by town hall and actually formally introduce myself to everyone up at town hall as well.
Great, thanks, Greg.
Thank you,
Have a good night.
thank you.
okay, so
Thank you.
Adam, you think, are you need me to stay online to answer any questions on other agenda items or not?
I don't think so, Ken, thank you.
Okay.
Tough questions, but I'll hold you.
Yeah, you know how to get a hold of me. So, okay, thank you, everyone. Like I said, please don't hesitate if you have any questions. And Greg will, if, like I said, Adam, if you could get some kind of sketch or some idea of what you're looking at, it would help to breach the subject with the commissioners.
Will do, thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Ken.
thank you all. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
The next item on the agenda, should we make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from December 7th that were sent from Nathan earlier?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, so we can accept those meeting minutes as they stand. I think we're a few short, but do you need any help compiling handwritten notes, Nathan? It sounds like your computer crashed.
No, I have all my handwritten notes. I just need to retype everything out, but I
Ugh.
squeezed that one out during lunch break today.
Thank you.
Thanks, I'll get it down to the clerk tomorrow.
Okay, and then the next item on the agenda was to discuss the public forum.
Yes, if you'll recall, we were talking about doing this May 17th. I'd like to push it back a couple of weeks. That week will be a little busy for me. The MVP project community event is going to be May 18th, which is the municipal election day. So I think in order to do the forum justice, separating those two events by at least a couple of weeks would be beneficial. Plus, it would give me some time to do some more work on the plan. My thought now is to, let's see, find a calendar. do it June 7th, which would be the normal date of the committee meeting.
Would we do it in place of the meeting? How would that work?
Yeah, I think we do it in place of the committee meeting.
Works
So
for
if
me.
That's good for
Yeah.
everybody. We'll go with that
Yes.
plan.
Sounds good to me.
It sounds good.
And we can work on PowerPoint and some advertising for that for the next few weeks. Hopefully we can get people to come to, I think it'll be virtual. I don't think we'll be past the point where we're going to be meeting in person yet. So it'll probably be a virtual forum. But we'll play that by ear next couple of weeks.
And how will, so it's a presentation specifically about our survey? Or are you going to try to combine some of the Goddard Park survey results as well? Is there something that you can do to speak to both,
Yeah,
or is that not?
Yeah, it's a good idea to loop in the Goddard Park survey. I'll ask for the results on that the next couple of weeks, see if they can get time to compile them before that June 7th. My thought for the presentation, not to have it too long, is a little bit of background on what an open space plan is, why we need it, and then get into some of the goals that we've gotten out of the survey, and then kind of open it up to the floor for questions, thoughts, comments, as to what the town should be doing. Again, this is hoping for some active participation from the public. It's valuable to the plan to really hone in the plan to what community thinks we should be doing. And looping in the Goddard Park survey, yeah, that's a good idea. And there's a lot going on with that area right now.
Is it complete? Have you received all the respondents?
The survey is still open, at least for a couple more days. I think the grant technically goes to the end of the year, but I'll ask for some initial feedback or analysis of the survey ahead of time. They should really provide me at least some of the raw data anyways, so what people suggested or liked out of that survey.
I would imagine there's a lot of overlap. They probably speak to a lot of the same open space issues that we've discussed and seen in our survey.
Yeah, I think there's some similarities to it, especially surrounding the
Mhm.
and several of those items are going to be in front of town meeting in a couple of weeks. Tomorrow, town meeting tomorrow night. Several of those items are possible construction projects that are in front of town meeting.
Mm.
So we'll see how that goes tomorrow, I guess.
Exciting. Was there any feedback that anyone wanted to share regarding the moving from 2014 goals to the 2021 goals, or additional feedback regarding what needs to be carried over?
I will continue tweaking the language and work. I think I sent you some language that I've taken out and added in last week, if I'm not mistaken. That the goals are supposed to be these kind of, according to the state criteria, supposed to be these broad goals, and you get a little more detail with the objectives, and then you get even more detailed with the next chapter, which is the action plan. So it's kind of a layered action plan. So I think the goals are general. The goals are supposed to be kind of general, 5 or 6, 7 overarching goals before you get a little more detailed.
There were a couple of areas of discontinuity, but maybe I'm not understanding how the layering works. For instance, on the increase of level of protection afforded to wells on the general objectives for goal 1, that was considered high priority. But then when I went into the action plan, it seemed like it was a medium priority, some of the specifics of that. So I didn't know how medium priority or high priority, how that was really judged, or if discontinuity on that level really matters.
Yeah, you talked about the spreadsheet as well as the,
Yeah, I was actually looking at the spreadsheet when I was going through it and comparing
I haven't
notes.
linked the spreadsheet to the Word doc. The high and low, high, medium, low priorities are just, honestly, my thoughts. They can
Yeah.
be adjusted.
Okay.
Then nothing, none of that's, set in stone. Just generally the higher priorities are just things I over the past couple of years since I've been here, seem to be more of a focus or more, that's needed a bit more than some of the other requirements. That's all. Nothing set in stone, but hopefully when it's all drafted and finalized, it'll flow a bit better. It's still I know it's a little disjointed still, just because I'm doing it one chapter at a time, it's a little piecemeal.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
If there's anything that I can do, you can assign homework. That's okay.
I will be sending out some drafts to proofread and to look at in the next month or so. So you'll definitely be getting some homework.
Adam, the chair wasn't speaking for the entire board when she said that.
Yes.
I did have a question regarding the conservation agent and the responsibilities, because we had mentioned before the possibility of having this group carry forward or create a different group to try to work with town volunteers. But I had seen the language of the conservation agent would be a little bit different, maybe overseeing regulations and compliance with laws, so on and so forth. So did you have a vision, 2 different visions of that agent versus committee, or how did you think that would work?
The conservation agent normally administers the Conservation Commission, which is a regulatory body. It's making sure people are doing what they're supposed to
Okay.
in and around the other wetlands. Some towns have them, some don't. It's more of a matter of capacity what the town can do. I know that's been a goal. It's been listed as a goal on several plans. So it's just carrying that goal forward.
Got it.
So as for the volunteer stuff, that's we'll have to decide, with the committee is a good idea to try to recruit volunteers and stuff to work on the action items. Something to have further discussions with myself and the town managers where we should be going with that. Some more, harder details on that.
Yeah, that was actually one of the comments in the results of the survey that I was interested in highlighting. Someone said that they're sure, they had an Elks and Boy Scouts and listing of different women's groups that they thought could somehow participate in getting things cleaned up. I think it was in a rant about how trashes and parks weren't being taken care of, but I thought it was insightful to call upon those groups. So beyond maybe overseeing certain plots of land or parks, that would be nice to try to rotate, like you said.
I know the Boy Scouts have done some cleanup in the past. It was last year, the year before, they did some cleanup along the trail behind the Pappas complex. So they have
Great.
done some. I don't know about, I can't speak to the other groups, but the other ones I know about. And community service is always important. People willing to help out. Obviously, that's great to have.
Any other comments, contributions to the goals and objections? objectives.
No, I
Okay.
didn't get a really chance to look at it too much. I had intended to before this meeting, so in terms of all the edits that have been made, I'll keep looking at it though.
Yeah, feel free to email me if you have any passing thoughts. You don't have to wait for the meeting.
Okay.
We bought ourselves some time. That's good, Adam. Okay, so were there any other items? I'm looking at the agenda. It's a small print.
Um,
Do you have any other updates?
Yeah, the one thing, I don't know if you had a chance to look at were the maps. Did I send, I think I sent those to you all. Those came across, I got those from CMRPC last week. There's a couple more maps for them to do. The big one comes out of the action plan. They kind of plot action items on a map. So once we have the action items kind of set, they'll do some more mapping. It was great that this didn't cost the town anything. The town is kind of given hours by being a part of CMRPC. So and as well as participating in certain meetings, we get hours that they do work for us. So this came out of those hours. So it's a big help for them to do that. All those maps are required by the state to be in the plan, so they had to be done.
Yeah, they're
If you
awesome.
want to look at the maps, if you see anything that seems out of place, we can change them still.
I had a question regarding, I couldn't really tell looking at the maps, but someone mentioned in some of the comments about a plot of land over off of Leicester Street. I'm trying to look at what the comment was. Henshaw, Leicester, and Rockdale. Can you
Rock-
connect? Can you connect to the old landfill from that area? That was the comment in the survey.
The landfill is that Leicester Street? Is that Rochdale Street?
That's Rochdale Street.
Rochdale.
Yeah, when it's on
Maybe
the other
that's,
side, maybe on the other side of the street.
yeah, the landfill is off Rochdale. This Henshaw Street. So there's a lot of big parcels up here. I think the only one the town owns is the landfill.
Okay.
Yeah, 340 Rochdale Street. I'd have to double check, but I think that was permitted as a solar farm. I'd have to double check if that's the street address or not. Henshaw Street was permitted as a solar farm, so. And none of these are town owned. This is,
None of that. Okay.
so,
It was one of those comments that they thought that that could be a great walking area. And I didn't know if that was town land or not. Okay.
several of these areas are permitted for solar farms. I'm not sure if they've started construction on all of them, or there's been delays due to a National Grid regional study. So that if they're still going to go forward, that's what is going to happen with at least some of those parcels.
One other thing that I thought was interesting that I didn't locate before was a comment about South Hold Road and that property.
Mhm.
Because we were talking about it some time ago with the purchase of that new land addition by the town. Someone mentioned a disc golf, I don't know, a disc golf game being implemented over there. And I actually just took my dog over there the other day, and it's a really nice space. I don't know if that's something that was on anyone else's radar. That was the only one comment that I saw about disc golf. Or
I've heard a handful of comments. I think Mark, you mentioned it to me at one point a while back about disc golf.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would take to do that. Never played disc golf. I know they can do that in the woods. I don't think there's a whole lot of clearing, you need pathways.
No.
But,
It's a nice running area. I mean, it's a pretty nice area.
yeah. So I
And
think
it
that,
connects to campus. I'm sorry.
yeah. It's behind Pappas, it's behind the golf course. Access would have to be through one of the neighborhoods, I think.
There's a trail already, and I think it's a pretty well-established trail. And you don't have to cut through a neighborhood. It's through the woods.
I
From,
know there's a trail that comes behind Pappas and cuts over to the diversion channel. Is that the one you mean?
yes, and then there's a little tiny bridge, and if you keep going, it leads to the field off Southold Road.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's a pretty cool little area there.
Yeah, I mean, right now, I think there's another 5 years that there's the restriction on it of no active recreation, no development, passive recreation, which is the walking is allowed due to the agreement to buy the land. But
Disc golf is passive, right?
I think it will be considered passive, yeah. So that's certainly something to put in the goals, objectives, or the,
Right.
the action plan is to at least investigate that. I don't
right.
I don't know what it would take. There would have to be some kind of plan or some kind of feasibility study.
Right.
We need some kind of funding and a consultant, some kind to look into that.
Yeah.
It's certainly a possibility. Wouldn't rule anything out. I know goat disc golf has increased in popularity over the years. So there's one in Leicester that is, I think, nationally ranked, the Maple Hill Golf
Wow.
off Marshall Street in Leicester. But, certainly a possible use.
There's one in Oxford too, at Buckingham
Yeah.
Dam.
Yeah, I think that's probably something worth putting in the action items is to at least do a study.
Yeah, right.
It's gotta
Yeah, and
start
I saw you added a study about looking into funding potentially for Rotary Beach use, just
Mhm.
investigating further.
Yeah.
So that was,
Yep.
that was a nice addition. There was no comment about maybe putting in a splash pad or investigating areas for where to put a splash pad. I don't know if that was something that we should add in, or if there was enough responses for that would merit adding that in.
Yeah, we can always add that in. I mean, I may just have inadvertently left off looking at something like that. But
That's all I
certainly-
had to say about it, but if we plan on meeting, what's our next meeting? June 9? Was that
Seventh?
7th? Okay. We
Seventh,
can
yes.
get back to the table and talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Did we hit all agenda items?
I believe so.
Okay. Can someone make a motion to,
Yep, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Aye.